Deep in the enchanted forest stood a tree named Leafheart. With its massive branches stretching skyward like arms, it was the most magnificent tree far and wide. But Leafheart was unhappy because it felt lonely. Every spring it watched the forest animals find their partners. Birds built nests in its branches, and deer rested in its shade, but no one cared about Leafheart itself. There must be someone for me, too, Leafheart sighed one day. Its roots dug deep into the earth, but they kept it firmly in place. It couldn't move to search for its true love. And although it had the best view in the entire forest, it did it no good. One day, as a young raccoon named Ricky scurried by, Leafheart called out, "Ricky, I need your help. I want to find my true love." And so began the adventure of a tree searching for something everyone deserves: love. Ricky the raccoon was known for his curiosity. He leapt nimbly onto one of Leafheart's branches and chuckled. "You want to find your true love? But you're a tree. How are you going to move?" Leafheart swayed slightly in the wind. "I don't know how, but I can't just stand here waiting." Ricky thought for a moment and suggested asking the wise owl Esmeralda for advice. Esmeralda lived in an old cave at the edge of the forest and was known for her magical books. Along with Ricky came Frodo, a lively frog who wanted to hear everything. When the three reached Esmeralda, Leafheart explained its dream of finding someone to love it. Esmeralda leafed through one of her spell books. "There's actually a spell that can turn you into a human for a day. But are you sure? By nightfall, you'll be a tree again." But Leafheart was determined. "I want to try." The wise owl Esmeralda began the preparations. The spell was complicated and required special ingredients: sparkling morning dew, golden mushrooms, and a feather from a rare bird. Ricky and Frodo set off to gather the ingredients. Ricky swiftly climbed trees to collect morning dew, while Frodo searched the swamp for mushrooms. Once the ingredients were brought together, Esmeralda closed her eyes and spoke ancient words. A shimmering beam of light illuminated the forest, and Leafheart began to transform. Its mighty branches turned into arms, and its roots became legs. When the spell was complete, Leafheart looked into the small stream beside it and saw its reflection. It had become human. "I can walk. I can explore the world," it cheered. But Esmeralda warned, "You only have until sunset. Use your time wisely." Leafheart nodded and set off toward the nearby village. Leafheart walked through the forest, marveling at the flowers and animals that now barely recognized it. Eventually, it reached the village. There it discovered Mia, a young gardener lovingly tending to flowers in a small garden. "Hello," Leafheart said shyly. Mia looked up and smiled. "Hello, you're not from around here, are you?" Leafheart told her about its journey and how it was searching for someone who could understand its heart. Mia found the story unusual, but she liked Leafheart's honest nature. "I'm preparing for a flower festival. It would be nice if you came by," she said. Leafheart promised to return and for the first time felt a warm sensation in its heart. But time was passing quickly, and Leafheart knew it had to hurry before the spell wore off. As Mia continued her work, Leafheart returned to the forest to tell its friends about the meeting. On the way back, disaster struck. Leafheart wasn't used to walking and tripped over a large root, falling straight into a small stream. It could barely get back on its feet. Its legs felt heavy, and time was running out. Luckily, Ricky and Frodo came by just in time. "You're a real disaster," Ricky laughed, helping Leafheart out of the water. Frodo looked concerned. "You need to hurry. The sun is setting soon." Leafheart nodded determinedly, but inside, fear grew that it wouldn't make it back to the village in time. Suddenly, Esmeralda appeared and reminded Leafheart that true love isn't proven through words alone, but through actions. Leafheart summoned all its courage and ran as fast as it could. Its friends cheered it on as the sun slowly touched the horizon. Leafheart reached the village just in time. The flower festival was in full swing, and the air was filled with the scent of roses and lavender. Mia stood in the center of the garden, holding a giant heart made of flowers in her hands. "I made this for you," she said when she saw Leafheart. Leafheart wanted to thank her, but it knew its time was short. "Mia, I have to tell you something. I'm not really a human. I'm a tree, enchanted for one day." Mia looked surprised, but then smiled. "It doesn't matter who you are. What's important is that you have a big heart." Just as the last rays of sunlight disappeared, Leafheart turned back into a tree. Mia wasn't frightened. Instead, she gently placed her hand on its bark and promised to visit every day. From that moment on, Leafheart was never alone again. Leafheart had found its true love, even though it was a tree. Mia kept her promise and visited daily, sharing stories and planting flowers in its shade. The animals of the forest saw how happy it was and celebrated its extraordinary love story. Leafheart had learned that love knows no bounds, not even between a tree and a human.